Good morning, everyone. Today it's a very interesting feast. It is the feast of St. Joseph the Worker. Now, Joseph, as we know, the father of Jesus, not necessarily biologically, or not biologically, but he was the worldly father of Jesus. And we know that in the writings, often Jesus is described as the son of the carpenter, or in fact, he is even described as a carpenter himself. So much of what Joseph knew was passed on to Jesus. It's worth thinking about that within our modern context in terms of what do our children learn. We're often sort of said, well, children learn by example. They copy their parents. They do what their parents do, not what their parents say. That doesn't work out sometimes. But kids are great imitators. And so when you say to your child, what do you want to do when you grow up? Often it will be something that they have learned or experienced through their parents. Sometimes that's wise and sometimes it's not. But it is important that the father in particular does pass on to the children what he knows. It explains to him perhaps a little bit of his background. Yeah, and it's always good to know that. What do you know about your grandparents, for example? My grandfather, for example, was a member of the Irish military rebellious group, ended up being thrown into jail. So it's not something I necessarily ought to follow in that example. But my dad is a carpenter. No, I'm not saying anything, nothing implied by that. I learned a lot of my skills from my dad just by spending time with him in the workshop. I learned a lot from my gran as well about spending time in the kitchen, learning how to cook. But we learn by experiencing it from our parents. And let us make sure that the example that we're giving to our kids is an example that will be pleasing to God. And that comes down to, in terms of our attitude towards religion, our attitude towards our religious practice. And if you find kids who are not going to Mass, very often it's because their parents aren't either. And there's quite a big responsibility there to ensure that the kids do have the example that we know that they need to have. So let's look to St. Joseph the Worker and thank God for the gift of the man who took on that amazing responsibility. And let's commit ourselves to being that example that we need to be. You have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again. God bless. Bye-bye.